All right, welcome to episode number 100 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast. We are recording January 10th, 2020. My name is Eric, the host of the show, based in Southern Ontario, a hunter, target shooter, ham radio operator, and computer geek. As a first responder, I've witnessed an over-reliance on emergency services during major events, and I started a small preparedness company to help people get better prepared for at least 72 hours, if not longer.
My name is Ian, and I live on Vancouver Island. I'm an outdoor enthusiast, sport shooter, and my farm's designated handyman.
I'm Alan. I'm a safety trainer, first responder, security expert, and overall safety nerd.
And I'm Hugues from Nova Scotia, also known as Not Eric from some previous episodes. Canadian Armed Forces veteran, volunteer firefighter and current platoon captain. Also volunteer search and rescue technician and prepper.
My name is Tyler. I live in Northwest Wisconsin. Besides preparedness, I'm also into homesteading, metalworking, engines, guns, and the great outdoors.
As always, my name is Andrew. I'm a recovering libertarian, a firearms instructor at Ragnarok Tactical.
And obviously fan of 80s synthesizer music.
Yeah. Or just a robot.
Don't worry, I got to Andrew.
And we also have our very first listener on tonight, Scott, if he's able to say hi.
I'm Scott. I'm split my time between Southern Ontario and North Bay. I'm a paramedic. And
so sorry to hear that.
Things prepping. We can save that fight for another show.
Yeah, here comes the emergency preparedness fight. All right, so I'll moderate. And
welcome to the show, Scott.
Well, thank
you. Welcome.
So a cop, a firefighter, and an American walk into a bar.
Guaranteed to offend at least a third of the panel.
Yep. Oh, we're off to a great start for number 100. All right, so where are we? My show notes here. Holy jumping! I've only had one sip of beer. I'm already getting all lost. So
Eric.
We've got some centennial content for you in this episode. We're going to start off with some preparedness-related news articles. Next, we'll let you know what we've done for our preparedness since last episode, and then we're going to get into the main topic. 100 episodes in, we're just going to chat with whoever wants to hop in and say hello.
You literally skipped 2 segments.
Yeah, well, hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, as long as you're aware of it.
Back to them.
Drinking.
Go ahead, Alan. Run him back and get him back on track.
Oh, that's terrible. We've only done 100 episodes. I'll get it right eventually.
In my best Eric voice, if you want to help support the show and keep the Canadian Prepper Podcast on the air, buy some swag. We have both Canadian Prepper Podcast t-shirts and Tacticool Velcro patches at www.prepperpodcast.ca. All proceeds go to help keep the lights on and the backup generator fueled.
And if you're enjoying the show, please take a few minutes and like us on Facebook and submit a review for us on iTunes. We want your feedback, good or bad. Or if there's a topic you want us to cover, you can email us at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca.
Okay, so now rewind. Listen to what I said before all that, and we'll move into some news.
Or we can,
the only news I have is Scotch. That's my news for the night.
Scotch is
It's a good news.
Some good news, finally.
All right, I guess my turn. Pakistan power outage. So I guess it turns out that well, we won't mention that YouTuber that copies us all the time. But anyways, it looks like an entire country copied us this time. And they had an entire power outage for the entire country of Pakistan. So I put the article in there. It was, I think they figured up to 200 million people were without power for a few days. So that's a thing.
That's it?
That's a lot.
Is that why suddenly I'm not wanted by the CRA for a few days?
Well, yeah, I was going to say a lot less telemarketing going on or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, also, it's going to be mentioned further on down, but there's a bunch of protests spontaneously arranged to protest the curfew in Montreal. So a bunch of people took to the streets to say this is not cool, which was kind of cool. And,
Good for them.
Yeah, I mean, for a bunch of commies, dare I say? We're going to talk about that later. But no, it's... Yeah, commies en français. Yeah, no, I mean, good for them. I mean, they took to the streets right off the bat. No tolerance for overextension of government overreach, and yeah, that's awesome. So, and then the last one I had was Australia. I mean, to quote Robert Downey Jr., they have gone full retard. They put out a tweet to the population saying that basically from now on you should actually wear a mask by yourself in a vehicle in order to prevent the spread of COVID.
Nope, that's not how that works.
Yeah, no,
that's not how any of this works.
That's all I had.
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't know. Yep.
Eric, I think you're next. Any
Nope, no news articles from me today.
No. So mine is very similar to what Ian had, was just that Quebec is entering a 4-week curfew, and I believe it's from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. There are some exceptions for work, for example, if you need to go to the pharmacy and all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, I think yesterday they issued 200 tickets, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see how that goes. Definitely not a fan of that. And I'm hearing rumbles that Ontario may follow suit. So we'll see how that goes. Yep, that's all I have.
Yeah. I failed to see how curfews help, but
it concentrates everybody into one area at one time. How can that possibly be a bad thing?
Yeah, no.
All right, for myself, I don't have any specific news articles, but I just thought I'd do my best to kind of summarize the recent events here in the States. It's been kind of a chaotic past week or so. So I kind of just typed up a paragraph here to tell everybody kind of what's been going on. So I'm sure you've seen or heard by now that Trump protesters stormed the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. on January 6th in an apparent attempt to delay or stop Congress from counting the electoral votes. So counting these votes was kind of the final step in the electoral process. And this process is what ultimately decides who becomes president. From the election that took place on November 3rd between Trump and Biden, it appears that Trump has finally exhausted all of his legal pathways to overturn the election, despite evidence of voter irregularities and potential fraud. It's almost now certain that Joe Biden will be inaugurated on January 20th as the president. As a result of these recent events, we've seen just in the last few days, big tech clamping down on free speech. So platforms like Twitter and Facebook have entirely banned Donald Trump from their platforms, and other companies like Google and Apple have banned so-called conservative social media platforms like Parler from their app stores. So in addition to all this bad news, I guess if you're Republican, bad news, the two Senate runoff races in Georgia have also both been declared for the Democrat contenders. So this means that the Senate's now split 50-50 between Democrats and Republicans, with soon-to-be Vice President Kamala Harris as the tie-breaking vote. The Democrats also hold majority in the House of Representatives, and with Joe Biden taking office on January 20th, the Democrats have very little in the way of implementing all their policies. So I think the last time I was on, it was actually just Eric and myself. We were kind of just talking politics, and we kind of predicted that, yeah, during this period there was, potential for unrest, and unfortunately, we've seen exactly that in the last week. And it doesn't seem like things are going to calm down soon. I know, like Nancy Pelosi's planning to introduce impeachment articles now against Trump. They're trying to get him out of office before January 20th. So we'll see what happens in the coming days. But we still have Inauguration Day to look forward to. So hopefully everything stays peaceful. And
what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, it's been a crazy start to 2021 already. So
just a little bit.
So it's bad enough that, I mean, he's only got like 10 days left before he's actually, like, quote unquote quitting or getting fired anyway, but they want to fire him 10 days early.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
Well, and also, mostly it's prevent him from running again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big thing.
Yep, it seems like that's kind of the biggest end goal.
But
I don't think anybody really.
But they're talking about
everybody kind of knows
after.
it doesn't matter to get him out a few days early, but if he's impeached, then he can't run again in 2024. So.
But again,
but wasn't he impeached already? Like,
no, that was never successful.
Exactly.
Oh,
yep.
right. He didn't pass. Okay. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the chances of him being like physically fit to run again in 4 years are pretty slim. So
yeah, I would.
we might be taking the windmills.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of forget everybody rags on Joe Biden for being old, which he is, but Trump's only a couple of years younger than him, but certainly seeming much more energetic.
It does feel like Vice President Harris is going to finish that term, though. But
yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, exciting times down here.
It's going to be a crazy 20 days.
It sure is.
It's been 10 days leading up to inauguration, then the first 10 days after are going to be just nuts, I think.
It's been entertaining to watch.
Well, Tyler, I hope your district wins in the games.
No. It's funny because it's not me, It's entertaining because it's not me.
Oh, boy. Well, shall we move into what we've done lately for preps?
Yeah, I'll go first. So just been decluttering the workshop, something that has to take place in wintertime because I just don't have time in the summer. Consolidating some technology assets as well as adding layers of network security. So just things to do when it's dark at 4:30 p.m. So that's what I've been doing the last week or so.
Oh, yeah. So for myself, I built a little DMR hotspot. You can see it there on the camera. But put that little guy together, and it allows me to hook up to my handheld ham radio and chat around the world, so I don't have to rely on the repeater here in town. Now I've got my own little one, so that was a fun little project, and starting to make some more contacts around the world with it. So yes, cool. For you purists in the ham radio world, it does cheat and uses the internet for communication, but it's a fun little project. So
it's cool nonetheless.
Yeah, it was fun, and it works, so it's even better.
Cool. That's amazing.
That's about all I've been up to.
As for myself, we had a big, what we call a Pineapple Express, which is the same as a Nor'easter or anything else, but just on the West Coast version, coming through here and knocked out a bunch of trees, a massive windstorm, and a bunch of rain. I think we had 400 millimeters. No, sorry. Yeah. 40 millimeters in a day. Anyways, something like, no, it's 111 millimeters, 44 inches. That was about it. I was like, I'll get it sooner or later.
400 millimeters is like...
Yeah, no, I'll get that right. Metric is hard. Leave me alone. So anyways, yeah, 4 inches of rain is what I was trying to say. So 4 inches of rain in one day. So that would cause some minor issues, to say the least. And we had to trench the living daylights out of the ditch that was uphill from our house to keep from flooding. And had to deal with that. So plus the trees getting knocked down, it kept me busy with the chainsaw for a while. Also required me to do a little more power line clearing to keep the fallen brush off the immediate vicinity of the power line. And other than that, just did a quick run to the range to do some brass scrounging. Figured that I'd be under lockdown by now, so it give me something to do. And did a little bit of reloading. And actually, a friend of mine managed to source a free freezer for us to put feed in to keep the rats out. So
nice.
Took possession of that, and that's pretty much it.
Very nice.
I did nowhere near that much. Currently attending an advanced first aid course in day 2 of 4, and because the cottage that we're at is mostly heated by wood, so we've practiced some fire lighting skills. Huge shout out to Claire, who's managed to keep fires going for 3 days now and doing a great job.
Nice. For myself, the last couple weeks or months, the biggest thing we've done around here, we added rabbits to the homestead. So I've built 2 large wooden rabbit hutches using mostly all pallet lumber. So we've also got 12 males, females, a mixture of both from a family friend. My wife went ahead and processed 7 of those rabbits herself to make sure that we really wanted to start raising meat rabbits. She absolutely loves the rabbits, and they taste pretty good. They're pretty similar to chicken and really easy to process and pretty easy to cook and stuff. So we decided to begin breeding a few of these rabbits, and we had our first rabbit babies about 2 weeks ago now. So we've got 5 little bunnies growing very fast and hoping to be ready to process in about 10 weeks. Besides adding the rabbits, I finalized refinancing the house. I also got a healthy reimbursement check from the escrow on my previous mortgage, and finally, only 10 months after filing my taxes, got my income tax return from the federal government. With all that, I was able to pay off the car, pay off the last little bit of the credit cards and other debt. So now I got just the mortgage to worry about. And between all the overtime recently at work and that, I've been able to tuck quite a bit away in the savings in the form of cash, which feels pretty nice given the current state of things down here. And one big thing we did purchase with the money, we got a freeze dryer coming, so we're pretty excited about that. Purchased that about 4 weeks ago, so it should be here probably in about 2 months. They've got a pretty long lead time because there's a really high demand for them. But that pretty much summarizes what I've been up to.
Nice. That's
great.
It's a Harvest Rate. They're pretty much the only ones that make them, but it's their larger model. And yeah, I don't know. My wife, she's the one that really took this on and kind of egged me on to get one, and I guess we'll see.
Her back on the podcast. That was awesome.
Yeah. She'd probably definitely come back on sometime.
We'll have to do an episode on freeze drying once you get it all sorted out.
Yeah, I'm sure she'd love to. Yeah, she's really excited about it, so I'm excited to see what she does with it.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
And Andrew, anything to add for preps?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize we were on. I can't read the show notes. New, first time. Yeah, sorry.
Okay,
lots
I
going
can't
on.
either, apparently.
No, I can't either.
No, that's the
it's
thing
not a
for
requirement.
tonight.
Yeah, it's all right. Beer's a thing. So it's okay.
Lots of stuff going on. I bottled mead a couple weeks ago, which I am now drinking. I have the Angry Orange Man mead. Figured it was topical given the world events.
You didn't call him bad,
We
though.
got-
Orange Man bad.
Well, it's one of the only brews that I had that blew up during primary fermentation. Apparently, ginger is very reactive when it ferments.
There's a joke there somewhere.
Yep.
So orange ginger mead, and we got a bunch of others. We did 25 pounds of honey into booze. So not an insignificant amount of mead to drink in my future.
Nice.
And aside from that, I'm just on the workout and renovate train. So I'm getting in a 5K something every day. Usually a 5K run. Some days a 5K ruck. I was just out today for a ruck with one of my shooting buddies, because we can't go shooting because that's not socially appropriate with the COVID. So we went on a really, really busy public trail.
That sounds
much
way
more
safer.
COVID friendly.
Yeah,
way safer.
That seems so much
and
safer.
then ongoing renovations with my giant pile of tools that is now my background.
Nice.
That's a giant pile.
It is.
All right.
I think Hughes's is bigger.
Yeah. Size does matter there.
Oh boy.
All right. Should we get some guests on here?
I was going to say, let's move into the main topic, and I have posted the link to Facebook and YouTube. So if you want to hop in and join us, we're just doing a free for all this evening. So general chit chat. If anybody wants to hop in and talk, then please do.
Trolls
so.
are welcome.
Yeah,
exactly.
No,
Yeah.
trolls are welcome, but
We feed on hate.
Yeah.
make sure you mention your first name when you're talking, and then no naked streaming, and keep it PG. Some swearing is okay, but keep it to a minimum.
And
I'm surprised I'm still here.
I put the link back in the show notes here. So if you want to hop in, you don't have to use your real name if you don't want to. It's going to ask you for one, but you can put whatever you want in there. And all that's required is a mic. You can disable webcam if you don't want to use it. And we've got Scott,
Jeff.
and we've got Jeff. So welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Howdy.
Let's see here. We'll turn
Well,
the
Scott,
mic-
you were here first. You already said hi, I guess. So, Jeff, what's your story? Tell us about yourself.
I am a recently retired 911 dispatcher. So
Jesus, they're all here.
So I've been involved emergency services like Eric, and actually I used to dispatch him.
Sure
I
did.
would say I could tell him where to go, but it never worked, so it didn't matter.
Wait, is this the same guy you've talked about, Eric, off air?
Yes, this is him. Yeah.
Oh, I understand the gray beard. All right, it makes sense now.
Hey, okay. I don't want to know. So like Eric, I've just seen an over-reliance on, being in the 911 field of what people actually call 911 for would blow your mind. So nobody's prepared. Nobody's ready for anything. So I've taken up the interest. I've had it for a while. And so I'm just getting lots of good information. I signed up for the ham course. Check that out today. Everything's good. So I'm good to go with that. And that's me.
Good.
Awesome.
Thanks to Phil, now we look like the Brady Bunch.
Yep. We've got a full screen now. Welcome, Phil.
All right, but I call Marsha.
I think everybody does.
Well, you are the best looking one of the
I
bunch.
was
Andrew, so
first
come on.
to it.
Oh, Phil, you there?
Oh, I am. I'm saying that if I had to be a Brady Bunch character, I'd rather be the housekeeper Alice, because she's got to say whatever she wanted.
Fair enough.
That's a good call.
Although
That's
a whole
true.
bunch of teenage boys cooped up in a house. I don't know.
Yeah.
You want to team clean that.
It'll start looking like a police station after a while.
Yep.
So, question for Scott, Jeff, and Phil: when did you start listening to the podcast? Was it recently, or were you around since episode 1, or
That wonderful 5-minute episode.
was it 5 minutes?
I think it was with intro and everything, maybe 6.
Plus time to cuddle.
Well, yeah, true. Yeah.
You want to go ahead with this one, Jeff?
Probably about the last 8-9 months or so. I wasn't around for the very beginning, but probably the last 8 or 9 months I have.
The forgotten early days, yeah.
I would say for it's Phil. Sorry, I would say for me, it's probably been about 5 or 6 months as well. Probably didn't really know about the show originally, and kind of stumbled across it. And a lot of the other prepping channels I just won't watch because they just get sort of too weird and too political. And this isn't so bad.
Not fair enough.
I'll take that. Not so bad is kind of
Not so
the best I could aim for in my life.
Because we get weird at times and we do get political at times. So.
Very Canadian compliment. Not so bad, eh?
Yeah. No, I mean, political's fine. It's just, it's just a lot of the really angry rhetoric you hear out of, say, more of some of the southern shows, right? Like across the border there. It's
fair enough.
Yeah, Tyler, way to go.
Yeah, geez.
On my fault.
Oh, this is not how I make friends normally. So.
Oh, fair enough. And welcome, Jason. Oh, if Jason's there.
Yeah.
Nope. Ran away.
He'll come back.
Okay, well, he might come back.
Come back, Jason. We miss you already.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I've never heard. How did like Ian and Eric and Alan? How did you guys all get together on the podcast here? How did that all start up?
Well,
I published a sad 6-minute video or 6-minute episode, and then another 10-minute episode, and then I think another 10-minute episode, and then Ian came along and rescued me.
But was it really a rescue? Because we had it in-house. I guess it was at the time a BlackBerry messaging group, and then so we found like a little minor prepper group, and then we just started. Eric was looking for volunteers, and I didn't know any better, so I just said, "Okay, I'll do it." And then to do our first podcast took 2 hours, 3 hours, and we got 40 minutes out of it. And because we were using, was it Skype? I think it was, but we ended up having so many takes because we were trying to be perfect right off the bat.
Yeah.
And that's never going to happen. And so I was nervous. We were trying to figure out our little interaction and our little repartee and trying to figure out our show format, and it was awkward as fuck. So anyways,
it really was. The first few episodes were rough.
And we weren't doing them live either. It was literally like we'd call in. It was just a private chat. We'd record everything. I'd go through and try to edit out little spots where I could, but we would try to, if we didn't do a certain section right, we'd stop. We'd re-record that section again, and it would take us 4 or 5 takes to do it. And it was just,
that's no fun.
Sticking to that format.
Yeah.
So then
we flipped the live format.
Well, then I actually went to my inspiration for the show, which was the right directly below me here on the screen, actually. So I was listening to Canadian Patriot podcast, and I was like, those guys have it kind of switched on, and they've got a good format going. And turns out they had bored the format as well. But anyway, but they had the right format, and I just thought, well, we should do more like.
Why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah,
exactly. These guys know what they're doing, right? Yep. So I contacted Andrew, and I actually asked him to come on his show, to plug our podcast because he had an audience, and also I wanted to kind of see how they do things on the inside, and they just never told me to leave. That was pretty much it.
I mean, that's how I came about.
We tried to tell you to leave a few times, and you keep coming back.
I found Eric. I found the podcast just through Spotify. I was just looking for new things to listen to while I was driving. Sent an email to the guys after one episode. I forget which one. And the rest is history. Yep. I think that was episode 7 was the first episode I was on.
I want to say you were in around 7 to 10.
It was water. I remember that. It was. I think it was episode 7, and that was. I've been a regular guest since.
Yep.
I honestly don't remember when I came in.
We don't.
I think I contacted you.
3 minutes too. That's when you came in.
Yeah, Ian, I think you contacted me. But did I know Eric and Alan before that? I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I was around on the B because I used to work for BlackBerry BBM, so I used to moderate things like channels and stuff.
Yep.
Well, then
I'd watched some of your videos beforehand, but we never interacted.
Videos like on YouTube.
Yeah.
should get back on that, shouldn't I?
And
You should.
you really should. And I think I quoted your Bleach episode about 3 or 4 times. If I said I should just get a hold of this guy and see if he wants to come on, and that was that.
Oh yes, the notorious Bleach episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I think you were in the BBM prepper group there too, and I was advertising looking for people to help out.
Right. I think there was like 20 or 25 people in that group at one point. And
Yeah,
that branched out to another smaller group like all groups do. And
Yep.
yeah. Okay.
So we basically all came about the same way, just emailing into the show and or welcomed on, and it's kind of stayed that way.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question on Facebook from Ken. Have we all met in person? And so interesting, like Ian and I have been in the same room together, and Eric and I have been in the same room together, but Ian, Eric, and I have never been in the same room together.
Nope.
And I've gone to lunch with Ian when he came into Halifax one time. I think it was last summer. Not this summer, it was last summer, yeah.
So I think the only person I haven't met in person yet is Tyler.
Yeah, I have not met anybody yet, surprisingly.
And so
I drive near Andrew on a pretty regular basis.
Challenging.
Yeah.
The problem is Alan sends me a message and is like, "Hey, I'm really close to where you live," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in the middle of stuff. Like I'm on conference calls, or I'm not in town today."
Yeah, it's never like any more than 4 minutes of warning.
Yeah. Or there's the odd message in our group chat that says, "I was just in your area 10 minutes ago."
Yep. I never think of it until the most inconvenient time. So
now, Ian,
Andrew and I live
on the other side of the country from me. Ian is very convenient to get a hold of because I'm randomly going to be in, I don't remember where I was, Edmonton or something. And Ian's like, I'm going to be in Edmonton that day too.
Yeah, well, we had lunch in Montreal. We've had lunch in Toronto.
Oh, yeah, Montreal. That's right. That's where it was. I was trying to think where I'd been.
And then we were supposed to meet up in Vancouver a couple months ago. Then your work got canceled. So
the work still happened. I just didn't go. I sent my underlings.
And I think, for me being in Halifax, I'm far out in the East.
Sorry,
Coast.
where?
I used to Halifax.
No, where?
Halifax. I used to travel to Toronto quite often for work prior to COVID, but I don't think that's going to come back even after COVID. My company's found ways to move everything to virtual. So I don't think we're going to be seeing an office again. I don't think we're going to be seeing customers or other employees face to face. Not that I have anything against that, but yeah, I'll miss the occasional travel to Toronto, I guess.
Really? You will?
Well, you guys have a Chipotle there and I don't. So
fair enough. But you don't have to go all the way there.
That to you.
You also have donaires in Halifax that you can't get anywhere else.
That's probably for the best.
All right, so question for our listeners that are currently on the panel. Have you guys learned anything about preparedness from us, or is there anything we've kind of steered you guys wrong at, or anything else? Any commentary?
Please say the Bleach episode.
Yeah. Please.
Bleach episode.
Phil, go ahead.
Honestly, I probably your last episode, which was with regards to power outages, the big one, I think it was called, or something like that.
Yeah, the great one.
Yeah, the great one. Yeah, yeah. That was good, right? It's it's all great to talk about thermonuclear holocausts and meteorites hitting the planet and zombie whatever, right? But it's Pakistan right now, right? That's what's going to get you, right? And so when we talk about common sense stuff like that, or there's been a few times where
I'll stop you right there.
Right.
You can't call it common sense. It has to be good sense. If it were common sense, more people would have it. And fewer of us on the panel would have jobs.
That's true. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's right. Sticking the fork in the electrical why? No, sorry.
Continuity testing.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
Natural selection.
That's right.
Job security.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, no, I that's probably most of the stuff I take from the show. I was really getting into it when you guys started talking about the ham radio. I was hoping there'd be a little more about that in the future, talking about actual setups and reaching out. And I'd also love to see a show. I sent an email to Ian a little while ago, or a message out to Ian. I don't know if that was through Patreon I sent it, or I can't remember, but just about how you guys formed mags, or did you form mags, or what that all looks like. And because I've gone to a few groups out here in Vancouver, and yeah, there's a definite damaged quality to a lot of the more prepared minded out here. They're far more conspiratorial than they are prepared. Right. I start hearing about the Illuminati and groups that live in other countries, and I'm like, all right, well, we're done. Have a great day. And
everyone wants to be a prepper until it's time to do actual prepper stuff, and then they just want to talk about the big orange man.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, I'm going to close my speak hole and let someone else go.
And Ian, you're talking to me, buddy.
Yeah.
Sorry, there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Try the island. We're a little more relaxed. But anyways, like seriously, Phil, before I forget, drop me a PM. Like I didn't get your email, unfortunately. It's probably like a spam filter, but I'll check it for sure tonight. If you just drop me an email, contact at the end of the show, and then
just give your phone number on air.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Then the Illuminati will know it.
Yeah.
But
they already do, Ian. Don't worry.
Thank you, Alan.
Yeah. But
sorry, guys. I was going to say I'm certain I sent it to you, but I also was drinking. So
there you go.
Yeah, it's all in my head.
But for sure, because I'm in and out of Vancouver a lot, so maybe we can meet up for a coffee sometime and just say hi.
Oh, cheers! Yeah, it'd be great.
Ian's more about the prepping, less about the conspiracy stuff.
Ooh, that depends on how much you said to drink.
More about people.
Just
all like swipe wipe.
A lot of people have asked me, like,
this prepper.
Yeah.
A lot of people have asked me, what is it you prep for? And you say like a zombie apocalypse, and they think you're kind of a right-wing nut. But at the same time, it's like, if you're prepping for a zombie apocalypse, you're getting ready for anything that Mother Nature or life can throw at you, right? Whether that be a power outage or a storm or anything like that. So it's just really a metaphor to say, I'm ready for anything, right? So.
But then you
have to say that, people are like, zombie.
You mean there aren't going to be actual zombies?
I was really.
So my rakes and axes are not going to be useful.
The rakes and axes, or you have to learn to fire your Colt Python like this, like Rick style.
Yeah. This pandemic has been really unfortunate. I was hoping for zombies, but So I was hoping now that the
2021 has nowhere to go but up. We've already done a whole lot of the stuff.
I was hoping the vaccination would bring out the zombies, but
wait till the South African strain comes.
There's still time.
Yeah,
plenty of
Don't
time.
give up.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, I'm getting a real.
What's that?
Oh, sorry. The whole South African and UK thing. I mean, I'm sure they're real, but I'm kind of getting a murder hornet vibe from that, right?
Oh well, yeah. We were talking about this before the show as well. It's like most viruses tend to mutate to a less, like, more virulent but less lethal form,
right?
Because it's not in their best interest to kill their hosts.
Right.
So I mean, honestly, and they've been saying it's catchier, but they've never said it's deadlier. So
that's true. Yeah.
But that's a good example, because if you look at viruses like Ebola, like if Ebola were the pandemic right now, it would wipe out a lot more people than what the coronavirus is. But with the problem with Ebola is that it kills off the host so quickly that it doesn't have the opportunity to spread like the coronavirus, right? I was watching a show a few weeks ago where they were talking about I think they were like virologists or something, and they were in Africa and saying, if you think the coronavirus is bad, you should see the stuff that's popping up in sub-Saharan Africa, and if that ever makes a jump to humans, we're screwed. Like there's not going to be any stopping this, right? So
nuke it all.
Yeah.
A guy I went to high school with. I actually moved to Vancouver from Winnipeg about a decade ago, for obvious reasons. Winnipeg, and one of the guys I went to high school with, I bumped into him a few years later, and he ended up he was a virologist, and he worked at the virology lab in Winnipeg. And I had just seen the movie. What was the one with Dustin Hoffman and the monkeys?
Outbreak.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it was they dropped.
That's Charlton Heston. Never mind.
Outbreak. That's it. Yeah, they dropped that daisy cutter or that Moab on that village. Yeah. And I said to him, like, is there stuff like that out there? And he's like, oh yeah. he's like, there's stuff out there that would, and I mean, he didn't tell me that much about it, but I also didn't want to pry too much. So.
Cool. What about you, Scott?
Sorry, what was the question again?
Anything you learned from the show?
There it is.
Oh yeah, there's too many people. Oh my god. No, it's anything you learn from the show, or we steered you wrong or right, or anything else?
No, I've been enjoying everything. I mean, I've kind of been picking my way selectively through episodes for the past 4 or 5 months. I mean, I've sort of been in a prepper mindset for a while. I already have my hand license.
Nice.
But I enjoy thinking about this stuff. I love technology that doesn't depend on an internet-based subscription and bouncing. You know, if a server in California goes down, I don't want my fridge to stop working. So I very much enjoy all that school of thought. I would love to get to the point where I have a wood gasifier powerful enough to run a generator that can run a welder that can make another wood gasifier. I think at that point, I know I'll be set.
It's Engineer 775 is your guy. I think he's the wood gasifier guy. He's on YouTube.
That's pretty cool. That's an excellent goal.
Yeah.
That's a great goal.
My wife and I took a welding course together. It was our Tuesday night date night for fun. Sort of my goal being eventually to be able to build a gasifier. So I think, eventually I'll run out of propane or gasoline. I know I have enough trees.
Nice.
I love it. That's a great goal. James in the Facebook chat saying we look way less weird than he thought we did.
Yep.
I mean, there's a reason I don't have my camera on.
That's a lot of A's in way.
Yeah.
Way less weird.
Maybe it's like he expected us to look like the Lone Gunmen. They're that old X-Files spinoff.
Oh man, that was the worst show. Like it was quite literally the worst show on TV.
Yeah, it wasn't great. But anyway, too bad Mr. Philp couldn't join us tonight. But I guess he's got technical issues tonight.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Jeff, anything you enjoyed in general?
Just remember, I have the ban button, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where you live. No, I've picked up a lot of good little tips and hints here and there. I really enjoyed the bucket episode, the 5-gallon bucket. What can you put in the bucket? What should you put in there? What should you take? What kind of really opened my eyes to what I didn't have and what I probably should have. And I really got a lot out of that one. I thought that was a good one. But
a great place to buy a lot of the things that we talked about in that episode are at rapidsurvival.com.
He's already got too much of my money already.
That's a pretty shameless plug.
Yeah. That was.
I have no shame at all for this.
Yeah, that was a fun episode to put together, the 5-gallon bucket challenge. Rather enjoyed that one.
Question from Philip. So much of the topics you consider for an episode essentially is at the basic level to whet the appetite for a skill set. Is there any intention of digging deeper on any subjects? Maybe dig into a topic for 2 or 3 episodes? You can certainly go full autism on ham radio and a couple other ones, I'm sure. But
what would you like to see, Philip?
Yeah, tell us what you want to see for sure.
Give us a specific. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think we bantered around probably a year ago or so doing like a series episode and just doing 4 or 5 episodes on a specific topic. It just never really came together. The joys of everybody working shifts and being all over the map, it just...
Well, the problem is like getting Andrew on to talk for 3 episodes about body armor. I mean, well, it would be awesome for me. Some people might not enjoy it as much, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
those people don't need body armor. That solves that problem.
Yeah, true.
I mean, we already beat that one for an hour and 40 minutes or something. It was a long one.
But yeah, I mean, like
I have a thing. It happens.
But I mean, like, yeah, like some people might not be interested in the same thing. So yeah, any suggestions on what we might find interesting versus what you find interesting is always welcome, for sure.
I think the skills is a really important one because when you first start off in prepping, I think you focus mainly on the materialistic things, like what do I have to get, what do I have to have on hand. But really, when you think about I think it was Scott that mentioned that, he took a welding course with his significant other during a date night. It's easy enough to go to Canadian Tire or Harbor Freight or anywhere like that and buy, a welder for a few $100. But if you don't know how to use it, that tool is really going to be useless in your hands, right? So even that couple hours of basic instruction on something like a welder is going to make a whole world of a difference, right? And also, like, I can buy a ham radio and all the equipment. If I don't know how to use it, if I'm not licensed to use it, what's the point of having it, right? So I could probably figure it out somewhat, but it's it really comes down to once you get further and further into prepping, it's not just about what do I need to have, but what skills do I need to acquire in order to be effective with everything. It's like shooting too, right? I'd rather somebody spend $700 on a handgun and $2,300 on training than $3,000 on a handgun and no training at all, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we always So that's why we always kind of push that home on all the episodes of, practice using your equipment, and practice using your equipment. Because if you don't know how to use it, it's not going to be useful to you.
Yeah, I mean, if you just buy it and you put it in the back of your truck, but you've never used the thing before, I mean, when you actually need to go use it in a real world situation, it may not even work. I mean, you may have bought, the one dud that was on the shelf. So, I mean, you have to use these things. You have to, even when it comes to, buying the gear that you need to make a survival shelter, go out in your backyard and make a survival shelter. You don't necessarily have to go 100 miles from your home. I mean, you just go in the woods behind your home and try to set it up, and you're going to learn a lot, right? Just from that little experience. So,
or that one battery in your bug out bag for the bow thing, and you're trying to figure out how to use it, and you waste 3/4 of the battery trying to figure out how to program a frequency.
Yeah.
In there.
Wait, you can do that in under one battery? Teach me the Razor Master. Programming that is not easy. That was actually I gave my one over to one of the local hams, and he programmed all the local repeaters for me because he had the cable and I don't. So
it's
yeah, I get the cable.
It's doable. It's just not easy or pleasant.
Yeah.
Jason, you on now?
I can hear you now. Good evening, everybody.
There we go.
Hey, Jason. So, what can you tell us about the show? Did you learn anything from it?
You know what? You guys mentioned stuff that growing up poor in Manitoba, you kind of prepping was not a thing. It was just the way we grew up, so that wasn't a big deal. But I love the constant reminders to get out there, get the woodshed filled, plan your garden, get it ready. Get the reminders to get out there and do stuff that is expedient and meaningful as opposed to fun. Like it's not all of it's fun, right?
True.
It's good. It's. Fair. Yeah, it's more of a reminder to get out there and get stuff accomplished.
Make your bed.
Yeah,
exactly.
If you accomplish one thing in your day, you're moving forward.
Yep.
Philip gives a response here. It says, my theory of operation is planning systems rather than scenarios. Although I recognize the versatility of holding a scenario-based process, especially in getting new folks up to speed. I can certainly grow in all topics, but I have been flaunting with the idea of ham also.
Sounds like we need to do ham radio part 3.
It sounds like
this is what I'm hearing.
That's what I'm hearing.
Like I need to get my ham radio license.
When you get your license,
when you guys do your next ham radio, you guys should start describing some of your equipment and what equipment choices are there.
And why you chose that equipment.
Yeah, and and how you made the decision. It's just if we know what you use to make your decision, we might make a different decision, but we might use the same process.
Well, I mean, here's an idea, Eric. You've got a couple of radios for me.
Yep.
Why don't I go up there and we can install the radio in my truck, and we can do that as a pre-recorded show?
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah. Why not? Yeah, we can did it. And...
Somebody's going to be able to.
I just got a free install of a radio out of Eric.
That's 100% what I wanted out of it. I thought I'd at least get it halfway through the job, and then you'd figure that out.
That's pretty smooth.
Sawyered.
Well, I figure you're at least bringing the case of beer, so that works.
Well, of course.
I think the good thing about showing the equipment is, I think it was Andrew, Eric, and Jeff just all showed off their radios there. And I've seen radios like that, but I'm like, are those actually ham radios? Because I'm expecting some sort of base station unit that you see in an old Stephen King movie or something I mean, it's so yeah.
Something's a radio if you try hard enough.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. Oh, so that's cool.
Steve Brown has a comment on Facebook. I don't know, Eric, if you want to bring it up on screen. It says, I see a lot of preppers say, I don't need a ham license in a shit hit the fan scenario, but how do you actually know how to use it? Going to fumble through it when you actually need it. And that's a really good comment because, I mean, I do own a Baofeng ham radio, but I don't have a license. So although I can listen, I can't legally talk on it. And to be honest, I don't really know how to use it outside of what I've learned on YouTube, which is probably not all that much, right? So I think it's one of those things where, I just lambasted myself for saying, I've got the equipment, but I don't have the skill to do it.
No.
And it's one of those things. It's like, instead of playing Call of Duty, I could probably just, pick up a book and start studying. So it's one of those things. It's one of those constant reminders that, it really is a skill that I need to acquire. So.
Yeah, and that's a comment I see all the time is, why am I going and getting the license? Screw the government and their fees for licensing, because if shit hits the fan, I don't need it. I'll just start transmitting. Yeah, that might work for you, but it goes back to us always drilling home in all the episodes of know your equipment, know how to use it. You're going to invest some time. You're going to learn how to use the equipment. And then from there, if a shit hit the fan situation does happen, you're going to know how to use it. You're not going to be fumbling with it, trying to figure it out. You'll already have that foundation on how to do it and how to use it. And yeah, you're right. You're not going to need that license come shit hit the fan scenario, but you're going to need the knowledge on how to operate the equipment.
Right. But wait a minute, back it up. Did Hugues just say something bad about Call of Duty?
No, I played quite a bit.
Where's the ban hammer button?
So yeah,
but that comes back to. I'm sorry, my screen is really small. I don't remember who it was that said it. Maybe Phil. Understanding the why behind it, right? Getting your ham license isn't going to teach you how to program your Baofeng or how to use it, but it's going to make it easier to understand the concepts behind what all those numbers and menus mean.
Yeah.
Because even if you understand how to program it, if you don't know what you're reaching out to or who you're reaching out to, it's not going to do you looking good.
And the thing is too, right now I can look up. I mean, I've got access to enough information and people that I would know how to program the radio and how to input channels and all kind of stuff. But being that I'm a law-abiding citizen, I'm not going to start transmitting on it without a license, because the penalties, both civil and criminal, are quite big, right? So I know I'm not going to do that in a peacetime scenario, and because of that, I'm not getting any real world experience. So that if shit does hit the fan, I'm not going to be confident in my ability to communicate using one of those. So I'm probably not going to pick it up.
Yep.
And for Jason, I just put myself on full screen here just because I'm a media whore. But also, so the Baofeng can be as small as this type of thing if you actually this is the VHF and version of
banana yellow.
Yeah, and banana yellow, but it can actually be as big as this with the extra big battery. Depends on what you're using it for and what kind of battery system you want to have set up. But the ones you're thinking of on the desktop are like the HF, like the more long distance stuff. These ones are basically for short range only. And,
but couldn't you, with a repeater, reach around the world with that radio?
You could reach a long ways with this radio for sure. Actually, I'm still trying to get a hold of Glenn Tate, and he's about 50, 60 miles from me down the island in Washington State. But yeah, we're still trying to coordinate days and reception, because I'm in a little valley. It doesn't work that well. So,
gotcha.
Yeah, they're pretty low power for transmission. They'll be between 5 and 8 watts, but
right. But once you
can't get a fair distance,
once you hit a repeater, it just
depending on how far the repeater goes and the systems it's linked up to, you could in theory do worldwide, but you're probably going to do a couple 100K with it, which is still impressive.
Still better than the radios you get at Canadian Tower for $40, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
They claim 47 miles and you get about 40 feet out of them.
Yeah.
47 miles downhill at sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ken says,
commented here on Facebook, having a snap-on screwdriver and not knowing what end to use.
Well, actually, hello, Ken. You use both ends. You use one end to smash things with, and other end to pry things with, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but don't you dare bring that tool back on a snap-on truck, and if you break it.
Yeah,
I like that. That's a good point.
No, especially it'd be a little pricey to be doing it with snap-ons, but anyway.
That's why it has a lifetime warranty. That's a them problem, not a me problem.
Yeah. All right. So
we decided that we're going to do another ham episode. I'm good with this.
I think that's what we've taken away from this is we'll do a more in-depth ham episode and kind of maybe do an EDC pocket dump, but for ham equipment.
Yeah.
So now the question is, for the next segment here is, how have we all changed since we started doing the podcast, preparedness-wise?
Yeah, I'll start with that. So it's kept me more accountable. Right, because I know every Sunday, at least most Sundays, I have to have something to report back on. So I know that if I don't have a list that at least somewhat kind of sounds the same length as Ian's, I've accomplished something.
Is that like positive peer pressure?
Just a little bit, yeah. Yeah, it's if the Sundays I do show up for the show and I don't have anything to add for what I've done recently, I feel a little bit bad about it. So it's nice. It's nice to have that, and then
you don't just make stuff up. That's what I do when I don't have anything to add.
Don't give away the secrets. Jeez, come on.
I assume that's what Ian does too. I mean, how else does he get that many pages of stuff in the show notes?
What's that?
I think from notes on Facebook here from Ken, some episode ideas like reloading and food storage. And I think food storage goes back to the basics, which is one thing I'd like to kind of expand upon this year, right? Because we have a lot of new listeners that may or may not have gone through the existing episodes that we have. But I think this is also an evolving learning for us and for the listeners as well. So, you can't really discount the basic skills and the basic things you need when you get into prepping, like looking at being self-sufficient for at least 72 hours at the beginning, right? So when you look at prepping, you have to look at, beyond food. You have to look at fuel, you have to look at water, you have to look at communications, first aid, and all that kind of stuff. So, if you only have $100 to spend on this a month, given that you have a budget, don't go spend it all on food or don't go spend it all on first aid. You really have to start and say, I can be self-reliant for 72 hours and then a week and then 2 weeks and 3 weeks. And, then you get to the point where you're like, Ian, you could, live out like 100 years or so, but be nice to go back to those
or 100
basics.
hours, one of the two, I don't know.
100 hours, yeah.
Yep.
I'm good.
Kind of depends on who's visiting.
That's right.
Yeah, Rubbermaid bins are actually empty. There's nothing in them.
That's right. It's kind of like that big vault in Game of Thrones there. Ken Abernathy mentions reloading. We did a basic episode of that. We haven't done a deep dive on that, so that's a good point. We could do that.
I like the comment from Philip Dow about the PACE system. So your primary auxiliary, contingency, and emergency plans. So your backup to ham. Ham is your backup to most things. The internet and cell phone towers stop working for some reason. Your ham system should still work. And if it doesn't, we could totally do a semaphore episode, or some kind of smoke signal communications.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Only if we get a really cute girl to do like the flag waving for us.
I see. I'm not good enough for you. That's fine.
Yeah. Thanks for the attempt, Andrew.
I should have said a really cute ginger. That would have been good enough, right?
So, Andrew, shave the beard and we'll talk. But yeah.
Yeah, same thing with equipment maintenance and food storage. He mentions that as well. Like we could probably go deeper into equipment maintenance. Of course, a couple of my listeners are going to laugh at me for me talking about equipment maintenance because I'm the world's worst person at that. But anyways, we can get into that.
I think we
So-
were another.
I actually have a question for the regular hosts of the show. What was it, and when? What year did you guys actually start getting into prepping? Was there a specific trigger for you that got you into this, or was this something that your families just carried through for you, or was it? I know for me it was around 2008. That's when I sort of woke up a little bit. But I'm just wondering.
What was the trigger in 2008, Phil? Or was there a trigger?
No, it was the financial crisis.
Financial crisis.
My father-in-law at that time, who I discovered later on, was sort of a closet prepper, pulled me aside and said, because I was living in Winnipeg at the time, he was very concerned of a total financial collapse and ergo social collapse. And he was like, if something terrible happens, I want you to basically take all the food in your house and my daughter, put them both in your vehicle and drive up to Brandon. Right, because they lived a couple miles outside of Brandon, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was the first person to sort of really enlighten me, kind of get me. And then we progressively talked after that, and the situation thankfully didn't turn out that bad. But that was sort of really the thing that actually got me into prepping. So I'm wondering, is it same sort of scenario with you guys, or was this always a family thing, or?
I think for me, I think there was Hurricane Juan happened in Halifax, I think 2001 or 2002, and it was like the first real hurricane that hit the area in like 50 years. And for most of us in the rural area, we were out of power for anywhere from like 12 to 15, some even like 18 days. So that really got me started to think about, what if this could happen again? And sure enough, every year since Hurricane Juan hit, like almost 2 decades ago now, we've had, continuously worse and bigger hurricanes. But I think really, you guys are going to make fun of me for this, but it was a show, Doomsday Preppers, that basically just clinched it, right? It was seeing that this was actually a thing, and people were actually, it was a bit extreme, but that's really what got me into it, I think, was the Doomsday Prepper show. So I think it was always in the back of my mind after the hurricanes, just being prepared for at least 72 hours until help could come and restore power and all that kind of stuff. But Doomsday Prepper was really what kind of kicked it in high gear.
So if nobody's laughed at Hugues yet, so you guys can laugh at me now. So I started LARPing about it after watching Red Dawn. So there you go.
I was just gonna say
when it was in theaters. That's how old I am.
Oh yeah, you just admitted that on a recorded show.
Oh yeah, so Wolverines, baby. So yeah, I started LARPing about it back then, but it wasn't really until I started getting serious, because I was just a firearms prepper at that point for the most part. And a pile of guns and ammo should be good enough, right? Fight off those commies. Good to go.
Use bullets and band-aids, yep.
Yeah, but anyways, moving along.
Behind the Cold War. Yeah.
It was actually the 2003 power outage, really. That's when I had to put my big boy pants on and take care of my pregnant wife and house without power. And yeah, started getting serious after that.
Nice. Yeah, I guess for myself, all jokes aside, it was kind of that. Growing up, I grew up on a small hobby farm. We raised a lot of our own meat, had our own chickens. We baled our own hay from the neighbors' fields, those sorts of things. We just had 10 acres and goats and pigs and chickens and horses, but we kind of did it all, showing in 4-H and everything else. I graduated high school in 2012 and then went on to college, graduated in 2015, and then I went back and lived with my folks for a year and was looking for my own place to buy. And that 2015, I was like going into the 2016 election. So as Hillary Clinton and Trump were going through their election cycle, I was basically looking to buy my first house, and ammo was flying off the shelves. And now that Ian says Red Dawn, I've thought about this, looking back now. But I remember when I was in middle school watching that movie, and I had a little duffel bag packed with like my camping stuff, and I just thought that was the coolest. They had that flare side Chevy pickup with the roll bar, and they all peel out of the parking lot. So I always kind of dreamt about that growing up, and I don't know. It was, looking back, it was sort of emphasized for my parents. They would always grocery shop in bulk, and Dad would always say, "Oh, at least you kids know how to feed yourself and stuff." And he had a prosthetic leg. He got shot deer hunting when he was 21. So he taught me how to do everything, and I kind of had to fill that role early. I was always doing the vehicle maintenance, and I was 8, 9, 10 years old, and I was out there putting up fence posts. And now that I've got my own place and I've got a wife, she's totally on board with it. We're basically starting our own little hobby farm here, and the two ideas sync together really well. We're able to grow our own meat, and she runs a soap business, so almost all the byproducts we can use for soap and lotion, deodorant, all that sort of stuff, she loves doing all with me. So yeah, it's been really taken off the last year and a half, 2 years or so.
So by show of hands, am I the only one that hasn't seen Red Dawn yet?
Yep.
I haven't seen it.
There are 2 versions out there. They even did a remake of it.
Okay, well, first of all, the remake is it's like a blasphemy at this point.
Rubbish.
Well,
It would ruin it all for me.
You can't have Thor as in Wolverine. Come on now.
That'll be on my list of things to do this week.
Yeah, that should move high on your list.
Also, I don't think a Scorpion actually has any accuracy over 40 feet, and these guys were like taking long-range shots with these little Scorpion 9mm. No, exactly.
It's all cinema.
I'll pick that piece apart, but yeah.
Well, just because you can't hit anything past 40 feet doesn't mean they can't.
Okay, here we go.
For me, I got lost in the woods when I was really young, as part of a scouting trip. Spent a night on my own. I was really lucky that one of my scouters was he was a military reservist and taught us about survival and all of those things from a very early age. My grandparents were always kind of the same people that Tyler described, that were always, they bought in bulk. There was never an emergent need for anything because it just kind of existed and it was easy and calm for them. The big one for me was the ice storm in '98 through Ontario and Quebec. I did 17 days of disaster relief there and saw what happened when people weren't able to take care of themselves. Now, I was really young when that happened. I think I was 16 or 17. Spent a lot of time in very cold, very icy, very wintry conditions. And I was lucky that we were fully supported by the military and it was still unpleasant. So that was the big one for me. And then Y2K kind of got a little bit crazy because everybody was nuts. And then 2003, when the power went out, again, disaster relief for that. And it was just that clincher that I don't ever want to be in that position where I'm, huddled in the dark, hoping that someone's going to come help me.
Well, too, I guess early on in my career back in the day, I mean, let's face it, I'm sitting there flying a single engine putt-putt over the Northwest Territories, and I've got a backpack that's supposed to keep me alive until search and rescue can come find me. Probably in my best interest to make sure it's well stocked at that point. So yeah, it was I guess the job helped too. That didn't hurt because I was worrying about the what ifs, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for me, it was
flares and no batteries in your EPIRB or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for me, it really opened my eyes when I got into the first responder gig. Just seeing, all of a sudden a major event would happen and people are just calling, looking for help and having no real plan in place. They always expected somebody else was going to come and rescue them or help them out. And eventually, yeah, the first responders are going to get there, but it might be 3, 4, 5 days, depending on the situation and the extensive of it. So just being on that end of it and seeing the overwhelming call for help constantly coming in, I started thinking, well, if I'm on that end, no one's coming for a few days, I should maybe have a few things ready. And also being out responding to those things, I should have things with me because nobody else is coming for me. So I started carrying things with me when I was at work, and then that slowly grew into a kit that I would keep at home, and then it just grew from there. And my interest in learning different things and different skill sets just grew out of that, and here we are.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a great question.
What about Andrew? I don't think Andrew responded.
Oh, I have a varied experience. I sort of started paying attention after 2001. There was this big incident in September. You probably remember.
That's when some people did some things, right?
Right. Yeah. Aviation. That's just all I really.
There was definitely aviation incidents that took place in September of 2001, and I went into the military not very many years after that, and everything was given to me. And then when I left the military and went to go and get a university degree and become educated and get a real job, I discovered that everything wasn't just there, and that was a surprising turn of events for me because everything was provided growing up. My parents had, regular middle class kind of existence, so everything was just there. We had food in the fridge, and we had running cars, and we had fuel every week, and we didn't really worry about any of that stuff. And following getting out of the military and going out on my own, and it's all of these things are not actually just available to me. I can't just write a memorandum and say I want a truck, or I need food, or I need a box of bullets. I need to go and sort this all out on my own.
Yep.
And I made the mistake of going to university in the city of Toronto, which is probably the worst place ever to start prepping, because you live in a tiny apartment on the 30th floor, and while the view might be great, carrying stuff up and down the stairs when the elevator doesn't work is not the best time ever. And I got into firearms at the same time that I was in university because I missed the shooting sports and being involved in having machine guns and all of that stuff. Well, and also being in Toronto and being able to hear the gunshots at Jane and Finch, because York University, not terribly far from Jane and Finch. So getting into the shooting sports and being around other people and wanting to have all of the ability to do my own reloading and to have food and to be prepared and then not live in terrible places like Toronto, because, well, Toronto does have all of the burgeoning arts and culture scene. It is very difficult to keep a fueled generator on the 30th floor of an apartment building.
Yes.
So I live in a much smaller, much less densely populated part of Southern Ontario now, and I'm able to provide for my family, and we're prepared for, well, a lot of things. I like to tell my wife that I can outfit a platoon-sized element with 10 hours worth of notice. And that's mostly travel time for the people that I need to show up, not for me to actually like hand out rations and ammunition.
Right. And body armor.
It's literally just like, because I'm involved in the industry and I sell body armor through Ragnarok Tactical and I do firearms training and that stuff. It's really like, I just have a shelf next to me with all of my equipment on it. So if I want to put my plates on, it's in my office with my rifle and my body armor and all of my stuff. And we have food and water storage in the cellar, like 20 feet from me. I don't have to go out for days or possibly weeks as long as the power stays on. And if the power doesn't stay on, I guess I have to go outside to like fuel the generators and stuff. But yeah, I built it up slowly over a very long time, like a 20-year period. I've just kept adding to things because I don't want to be reliant on the government any longer. I was reliant on the government for a very short period of my adult life. And when I stopped being reliant on the government, I realized how much stuff is not just available to you when you need it.
True. Yep.
It's pretty valid.
Yeah.
All right.
Darren's comment here in the chat starts out, "I'm not a prepper," but you're a prepper, Darren.
I told him he was in denial. So
yep.
Just remember, guys, everything before the butt is bullshit.
Yep.
All right. So
a fire extinguisher on every level. How are your carbon monoxide detectors?
See, I knew that was going to set you off.
Didn't you mention that last episode too?
I think I've mentioned it in the last 10 episodes.
I think it's been every episode since you've been on, but
pretty much.
Yeah.
So, a question from Philip: how many of you got into EMS and fire due to your preparedness mindset?
I got into fire because driving the trucks is cool.
Fair enough.
Probably more the other way around, I would imagine, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or got into preparedness because of the EMS fire job.
Yep.
Yeah, I think when I got into fire about a decade ago, it really had nothing to do with preparedness. It was, I mean, it's definitely a skill that I've attributed to preparedness now, but when I got into it, it didn't have anything to do with it at the time, no.
It's actually kind of funny because I'm doing the opposite. Like, my job forced me to get into preparedness, so I had to put down the 2 unlimited CD and then pick up like the heavy cold weather sleeping bag. You know, maybe put down the Saturday night special T-shirt that I used to go night clubbing with, and maybe put on the parka. You know,
yep.
Yeah.
No, I'd say they were kind of exclusive, but also intertwined. Like there's value in having that set of skills compared to being prepared, and they are also rather exclusive because, as Eric mentioned, when things get real, you're not home.
Yep.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
100%.
How do you deal with the frustration of the duty to proselytize, for lack of a better description of what it is, and the people who are blissful in their life? Like, they just don't care.
I drink a lot of scotch.
I also attend the AA meetings. I see Alan.
So yeah, I mean, Jason, I'm lucky enough. I deal with a lot of like-minded people, so it's pretty good that way. And most of the guys I'm working with are, on the same plan. But by the same token, though, it's like, yeah, once in a while you see a guy that's completely out to lunch, and you're like, how at this point in your life are you not able to wipe your own behind if things go sideways? And it's shocking, for one. Like, because I assume that everybody reaches a certain maturity level or realization in life, but all you can do is kind of give them gentle nudges. If you try and like stand in front of an avalanche like this, you're just going to get run over. But if you kind of, as it goes by, you give a little nudge, maybe in the right direction, it's a little better. I think baby steps, that's the best way to deal with it.
I think baby steps is the right approach, because a lot of people I've met or spoken to, they just haven't had anything really bad happen in their lifetime. Yeah. Right. And a lot of these people are city slickers. I mean, typically the core of the city is, the first to get the power back and all that kind of stuff. So although I may be out, power for 12, 15 days in a real bad scenario, they might be out for 2 or 3 days. Right. Because a lot of them, they either live near a hospital, and that's the first part of the grid to get back online and stuff like that. They just haven't had anything significant happen to them where they think that they should be investing time and money into this. I was going to say lifestyle, but yeah, they're just not in that mindset yet. So not to say that if something bad happens that they'll be in it, but yeah.
Well, I think it becomes a lifestyle after a while. Like first, it
Certainly
starts off as a hobby.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts off as a hobby, and then kind of not all-consuming, but it becomes kind of more of a focus in your life than anything else because other things kind of seem less important after a while, right?
Yep.
Well,
You're just
I think
always
less
thinking about it.
important. What's more important, playing Call of Duty or making sure that you have food to feed your family?
Don't make me choose.
Which version of Call of
Right?
Duty?
Do you want me to order put these in order or? Yeah.
So I've been given permission. I've been given the nod from my better half to talk about our situation. So Claire was on the canning and preserving episode, I believe. She grew up in the city. The concept of being prepared for emergencies was completely foreign to her for that exact reason. She'd never experienced any hardship. And I mean, good for her. I'm more jealous than anything, but she'd never experienced that. So the idea of what happens if just didn't occur to her. She grew up in a city, went to school in a different big city, and everything was within walking distance, and nothing bad ever happened. So it didn't matter. And then we moved out to the country, where on a good day, you're 10 to 15 minutes from a grocery store. So it's really, if nothing else, it's inconvenient to go out and get that thing that you forgot. So it makes sense to plan ahead. And then you take into consideration that because we're in the middle of nowhere and we're in Canada, it gets snowy. So we might have to be in the house for a few days. And what happens then? So it kind of snowballed from there, and it's grown into I wouldn't say a full-time hobby, definitely not an obsession, but it's grown into a mindset where when we go to the grocery store, and I say we in a very liberal sense because Claire does the grocery shopping. When she goes to the grocery store, she gets what's on the list and then those few extra things to keep the pantry full. And when the pantry is full, she feels happy and relaxed. And that's exactly how it should be.
I just had the brain fart that at the beginning of this COVID thing, my coworkers knew that we had a decent sized garden. We live on a small farm, and they made the comment that, if things get real bad, we'll just go to Jason's house. And I said, well, you better come with your hands empty or your hands full, and I'd be able to see them either way. And they were kind of shocked by it. I said, I've made a lot of life choices to be able to, be in the position we are, that you've taken a lot of vacations that I didn't. And it was kind of a, Glenn Tate talks about it on his show quite a bit too. The people that, like, people in the wagon versus the people pulling the wagon, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think though that, from having been a first responder for the last 10 years or so, and living in a rural area, it really, how could I say it? It really drives home the point that you have to be prepared before joining the fire department. That, if I call 911, the cops are going to be here in 2 to 3 minutes tops. The fire department's going to be here in 5 minutes tops, right? The reality of it is, for PA standard for rural response is like 17 minutes. And I mean, if you have a lightweight construction home, 17 minutes, the thing is self-ventilating. I mean, the house is gone, right? And then, speaking to some friends of mine that are Mounties out here, that are RCMP, I thought they worked 24/7, but they don't. They only work until midnight on weekdays and 1 a.m. on weekends. And then they said it's the neighboring detachment, which is closer to the city, that takes over at that point. So they said, come 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. If you've got something urgent, there could be 13, 15, up to 20 minutes away. So, I mean, I don't live in downtown Toronto where I call 911. I've got cops on my doorsteps in 30 seconds, right? So...
Actually, I'm not trying to shit on the fire department either, but same token, though, I actually had a discussion with the fire chief one day because I was chainsawing. It wasn't a ban, but it was like a recommendation to not chainsaw, and I was using an electric one, so I was like, okay, really? And so I said, she's like, what happens if, your house catches on fire? And I was like, well, I've got hoses, I've got water reservoirs, I've got buckets of water and everything else, and I do a fire watch. And I said, but you guys don't work on weekends? He goes, actually, he says, we're all volunteer, which is fine, and we don't really work on weekends. But not only that, but we only have what's in the truck because the nearest reservoir is a 20-minute drive away. So if we run out of water in the truck, it's a 40-minute round trip to actually refill the truck by the time your house is gone. And so he says, we've got one truckload of water to take care of any forest fire or anything else, and that's it. And I kind of was like, really? I said, see, what you're telling me is you don't really have the ability to protect my house. And he goes, nope. I said, well, how many people know that? He goes, well, everybody should, but nobody does. So,
Sounds right.
and I was like, oh, that just even depressed me a little bit. I was like, wow.
Sounds like your governing bodies, your town council needs to revisit the NFPA standards there, because so there seems to be some gaps.
Well,
I mean, I look at where I live, and my best case scenario, the next town over in one direction has one ambulance. At full tilt, that's an 8-minute drive.
Well, that's the joys of being unincorporated, right? We don't have a governing.
Oh, you're unincorporated. Oh, okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's a little different.
Yep.
But at the same time, I mean, if you look like the nearest fire station to my home, which is the one I used to be the chief at, we have, one engine, one tanker. But because it's a volunteer force, I mean, it all depends on who decides to show up that night or for that call, right? So, I mean, if the first two apparatuses, the engine only has 750 gallons and the pump is, I think, 1,700 gallons a minute. So you can do the math. You've got about a minute and a half of water for an effective
Well, like
fire.
our engine, like at my station, our engine has 6 minutes of water if I'm running a 65 mil or 45 mil, like a 1 3/4 hose line. I've got about 6 minutes of water. Now we have one engine, one tanker. We also have 3 stations, so we would have an automatic response for a structure fire with the other 2 stations. So I'm 8 minutes where I'm getting water from neighboring communities. And then we've also got, I mean, we're fairly densely populated for a rural area. Most of our structure fires, we end up calling in mutual aid from neighboring municipalities. But I think the last structure fire we were on, we had 8 tankers lined up ready to go. And we didn't run out of water. The first 3 minutes, you're desperate for another tanker to come in. But after that, you've got lots to keep you going. So
where I was going with this was that the most recent structure fire we had, the fire response was 5 engines, 8 tankers, and after about 10 minutes, we only had 1 out of 8 tankers on the road. So I made the call to call out other tankers, and some of those were coming from as far as about an hour away. So it doesn't matter how much a tanker has for water; it's coming from it. It's an hour away. I mean, it's an hour and a half with getting the volunteers to the station stuff, right? So. Anyways, I think we're digressing a little bit and going down the rabbit hole. Firefighting.
But this rolls back into the whole idea of, emergency response is coming to help, but there's always that caveat that people don't think about the ability to actually solve the problem or be there to help right away. Yep. You might luck out. You might have a vehicle right there, right when you make the call. You might have one 45 minutes, an hour, a half hour away. You don't know. So you're best to kind of have some stuff ready, and then if more help can come and help, great. But at least you've got that backup plan or that initial plan in place to get you through until further help can come and get you.
Yep.
And unfortunately, most of the general public just doesn't bother to research what kind of resources are available to them in an emergency type situation. They just assume that, I call the number and everybody comes to help me and everything's good.
Eventually,
it might work out that way. It might not.
I mean, you make the call, everybody is coming to help.
Oh, yeah, they are.
So just not necessarily coming in the timeline that you expect.
Yeah.
Or want, or maybe need.
Yeah, 100%.
That was a squirrel moment.
Yeah, it was, but hey, nothing wrong with squirrel moments. We've had many of them.
My flask is empty, gentlemen. That's what's going to happen.
Oh no.
And from kind of my experience there too, with the emergency response, it also depends on what else is going on. You may think what you have is the number one emergency, but in the whole big perspective of it, you may be at the bottom of the list, and you may think you're going to get somebody in 5 minutes, and you're going to get somebody in an hour because there's 10 other calls that are more pressing than yours, even though you think yours is the most important in the world.
Yeah, that's a good point as well.
Well, actually, we witnessed that the other day. I was going to work. I had my daughter in the car, and I saw a paddy wagon, which I hadn't seen on the road for, I don't know, years, and about 5 other unmarked and a couple of marked cars all going in back towards the other way. And I was like, geez, it'd be a good time for somebody to rob the town up ahead, because once those assets are all taken care of, like, there's nothing left. I mean, and you might have a domestic call go on, and there's just nobody coming to that one anytime soon, right? So it's crazy how fast you can deplete the resources you have. So,
hey, quick question for Jeff. Working as a dispatcher, did was it up to the dispatching team to actually prioritize or triage these calls, or was it managed from a standpoint of as the calls came in, like which got priority?
It was a bit of both for our organization. We prioritize. We have a level 1 to 4 on our calls, and a lot of them, depending on what the call is, it's we use what's called a CAD system, so it's a computer automated dispatch, and it automatically sets a priority based on the type of call. We have the ability to upgrade it, downgrade it, whatever. I mean, obviously, domestics, robberies, that kind of things, they're higher priority than my neighbor's dog's having a crap on my lawn and I want it off my lawn. And but that's the we triage them more or less. But a lot of people think there's a ton of resources out there, and there's not. And there's a lot of times that we've got that priority call, and I'm calling the supervisor and I'm saying, look, I know everybody's on this, but this is the call I got. What do you want me to do with it?
And I think on the flip side now, I'm that supervisor that Jeff calls. And I mean, if we have, let's say, a structure fire call, like I was referencing earlier, we have 5 engines, 8 tankers responding to a call, and something else comes in. It could even be like a car fire. That's when I have dispatch calling me and saying, listen, all these resources are on this call. What do you want to take off that call? Keeping in mind that I still have to keep some resources in the area for the next call that comes in. That could be a cardiac arrest, which is going to be higher priority than a vehicle fire because that car is already a write-off and the insurance is going to write that car off anyway, right? So I'm getting that call now from the dispatchers asking what I need to take off a certain call, knowing that we may not save that house now because I have to divert resources from one to the other. So yeah, when you have a major event, you are depleting an entire area of the resources. And I have a lot more volunteers than I have trucks. So, I mean, I have, some stations have 30 volunteers and 2 trucks. And when those 2 trucks are gone, those volunteers, they're not useless, but, they don't have the equipment to do their job, right? So.
Anyways, as far as what we learned too, one thing I forgot to mention here, it's the last bullet point there, is the community. I mean, once you get into the preparedness community, it's a solidly good bunch of people, honestly. They're not all doomsday preppers and everything else. And once you start sharing resources and knowledge and everything else, it's amazing what you can learn. And just like Jason and myself going back and forth when I was contemplating my move out to Alberta, there's always help available if you need it. And good bunch of people. That's one thing that's really stuck with me in the last couple of years here is fantastic guys to meet up with in person, and it's been great.
Yeah, I second that. I've met all kinds of great people. I've gone to all kinds of different events through my little company, Rapid Survival there. And I've met all kinds of people that are just willing to help out, right? You put a question out there and you get an answer, and it's an honest answer. It's not why would you ask such a stupid question? Yeah, you get the odd troll that puts that out there, but most of the time you're going to get an honest answer, and it's going to be good information. And that's kind of what I enjoy about the whole preparedness community is the willingness to help out. You get the odd person that's like, I'm not telling you anything because then you're going to know about all my stuff and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure. You're going to get that odd person, but for the most part, you'll get an answer, you'll get an honest answer, and you'll even get offers to come in to help you set things up if you don't know how to do it. So that's been really nice to see.
Well, I think it also opens your mind to other perspectives. And I'm a big proponent of the idea that there's rarely one right way to accomplish a task or a goal. And so the way that I might approach something versus the way that Hugues or Eric or Ian or Tyler might approach something are probably going to be at least a little bit different. But if they're reaching the same goal, then really who cares? And at the end of the day, my plan might not work, but if I've talked it out with Ian and Eric and Hugues and whomever else, I've got that in the back of my mind that I've got another way to do this if what I want to do doesn't go the way I expect it to.
Yep.
And so the community aspect, I think, is probably the most important part. I think we've done episodes on the mags, on the groups, and on the lone wolf concept, and there's no question that the collective mind is the better way to go.
Yeah, you're not going to get through a shit hit the fan scenario without a community. You can try, but
sooner or later you got to sleep.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, no, I mean, you have to kiss a lot of frogs to get that prince, so to speak. But yeah, eventually, once you get a good mag people, it's great to have. It's been fantastic, and yeah, don't be afraid to take that leap of faith for all the listeners out there. If you could, if you think you might have somebody on the like-minded nearby, just give it a try.
100%.
All right. Anybody else have anything else to add before we move on?
Yeah.
Been out at this for an hour and a half, so we probably don't want to bore people too much.
We've still got 15 people watching, so that's impressive.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really impressive.
Yep.
All right, podcast challenge time.
Let's move into the podcast challenge. Yeah.
All right, please, everybody, keep us going for another 100. So send us topic ideas, more criticism, and the saltier the criticism, the better. Yep. And feedback of any sort. Like, please, topic ideas for sure would be great. Yep. If not, just think how we can do things better.
And if you've got something that that you consider yourself an expert in, come on to the show. We welcome anybody to come in and present or talk to us. If you want to come and chat, absolutely. We've got lots of room on the panel. We can have up to 10 people a show. So come on out.
I've already claimed the chair as self-proclaimed expert in several topics. So you're all out of luck.
Well, on most topics, yep. All right, so moving to upcoming events.
All right, assuming that BC does not follow suit with all the other conservative provinces and go full lockdown, we'll call it. Let's see here. BC Sportsman Show, March 5th to 7th, 2021. The link is in the show notes, and that'll be in Abbotsford, BC. It's probably one of your good chances to find like-minded people, or at least some good vendors.
Yep.
Yeah, it'd be a good place to go. I'm going to try and make it myself. I do believe I should be able to get some time off. So,
nice. Andrew, I believe you're putting a course on.
Uh-oh, we lost Andrew.
We lost Andrew.
Oh, he's just muted.
Andrew, you muted.
There we go.
I'm not muted. No, one more person. Am I muted?
No, you're good now.
I appreciate it getting like 4 times. I also appreciate whoever put this in the show notes. This wasn't me, but we're doing a land nav course in Mississauga, February 20 and 21. Get the registration on ragnaroktactical.ca. We're going to teach people over 2 days how to read and use analog maps and compasses. And we'll culminate everything with a field exercise. We're going to go out and actually use them for realsies.
And can I bring Waze?
You can bring whatever you want, but I'm going to make you use an analog map and compass and shoot a back bearing and find an azimuth and give me a 10-digit grid reference to call in artillery. I mean, your location. Kid-friendly event, Andrew? Children-ish friendly. I mean, I've taught land nav to like 8 to 10-year-old like Boy Scout types. So I mean, yes, but I mean they should be reasonably cognizant of what's going on in the world around them. And
one thing about my
attention span is, yeah, you'll be fine. No problem. Okay. I'm just trying to work out logistics for that weekend, and I'd love to come. I just have some baggage that I would have to bring along with me. I hope my kids aren't listening. I also have children. I understand. So I'm just trying to figure out if I can bring them or if I have to wait for the next one. No, I would say there's nothing wrong with having kids there. I know there's at least one other person that's tentatively arranging to bring their daughter, I don't know, preteen daughter with them, whatever they are, 10 or 12, like 8th grade kind of thing. Okay. I don't see that being a problem. I've taught land nav to relatively young people. It's the biggest thing is that it's like a full day of like how to use maps in a classroom environment. So the attention span, even for me, is going to be a challenge.
Just tell her she can't use the word whatever during the entire day.
Oh, my daughter doesn't.
No, I'm saying the other Andrew.
The other Andrew.
All right.
All right, let's move into some shout-outs.
All right, I got one for the big man himself, Eric. Thanks for putting this together. It's been 100 episodes. It's been fun. It's been educational for everybody involved, I think. So thanks, Eric, for taking the leap to start the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries. And thanks, gentlemen, for hopping in and saving me from the 10-minute awkward me chatting to myself episodes.
Yeah, and then also one for the Island Mentor who is providing me this information for the email feedback coming up here. So thanks to him again.
I don't know where I am in the notes because I closed my laptop a while ago. Shout out to the listeners, because without the feedback and without you guys coming and telling us that we're doing something worthwhile. This is just a bunch of guys sitting around drinking beer, shooting the shit, which, as much fun as that is, it's great when somebody else is listening. So
yeah, definitely shout out to all the listeners. Our stats have only been getting better and better as the episodes continue being published. We can see the number of downloads and the number of people that are streaming it and listening, and it's really good to see week after week after week the numbers going up and more people interacting with us. That becomes way more fun. Not that you guys aren't fun to chat with every Sunday night, but it's a lot of fun to see the live chat as well light up with people either bantering back and forth with each other, or just giving input as to what we're saying as we go along in the episodes. It's been really fun to see that grow.
Absolutely, it's fantastic.
People coming back and more people coming as other people tell them about the show. It's been a lot of fun to see that.
Who was talking about we were talking about last episode or the one before with the gas powered margarita mixer or blender?
Oh, yes.
I really need a status update on that project, guys.
Yes, yeah. Is it happening? Because we need one.
And if not, can it?
Yeah.
Please.
That last episode was a lot of fun.
That was a great time.
All right. Panel have any other shout outs?
No. He just wants to get back to his video games.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's got to get back to college.
Andrew wants to get back to his mead. Yeah. Tyler has to go find his rabbits.
Yep. All right. So we do have one quick email here. It starts out with, hi, Alan. I've been following the podcast since early pandemic, and I find that you guys bring great content, which is really easy on the ears. So appreciate that. Love how you guys mix banter with great info. You have a really good team. Eric is good with overall knowledge. I'll agree with that comment. Ian is proper funny, and Tyler is a good addition from the US. The other members of your team are knowledgeable too, which keeps the show interesting. And he just says, by the way, just a heads up, one of the largest human protests that's happening right now in India against three farm laws are anti-farmers and were introduced during the pandemic, and with no consultation with the farmers. The laws give too much control to the private companies that will exploit the farmers. Farmers young and old, along with their families, have been camping hundreds of miles away from their homes with their tractor trolleys for the past 30 plus days. I hope you guys can discuss this in an upcoming episode of your podcast. So we'll add that to the list.
Definitely.
And it says, and Ian, I just want to add that I know you don't appreciate commies, but left-leaning a wee bit isn't that bad, especially when some private companies use lobbyists to get what they want, which can be unfair for others. By the way, I'm not anti-capitalist. Thanks, and signs it off B.
All right.
Shall we set aside a half hour for Ian?
No, it's good. Actually, 30 years ago, I would be considered a commie because I am fiscally conservative but socially liberal. Like, I don't care who, you live with who you want to live with. You do you. Pray to whoever you want to pray to, but just don't waste my money and don't tax me to the living death. Now they call it libertarian or crazy extreme right wing or whatever. I mean, nowadays it seems everybody just slightly to the right of Karl Marx is considered a extreme right wing, and now everybody to the left of Attila the Hun is considered a commie. So I mean, it becomes more of a joke than anything else. I'm not really.
I think it's pretty safe to say that most of us, as much as we dislike commies, we hate lobbyists even more.
Oh, I hate politicians even.
All
politicians of all stripes.
I think we're on the same page with you there. Thanks for a great email. I appreciate that it's directed to me and then talks about how great all the other panelists are. I absolutely love that. I think that's fantastic. Love the topic idea. Keep up the fight. It's gonna get worse before it gets better, but it will get better as long as people hold the government accountable for their actions. And if you want to hear more about that, listen to Andrew.
Yeah. There's a big chance. Nothing.
And then looking at iTunes reviews, we have no new written iTunes reviews, but we're up to 135 total reviews. So
cool.
I'll take that.
How many 1 stars?
Funny guy. Stopped counting those a while ago. Maybe I'll go back to it. All right, gentlemen. Well, with that, I will bring episode number 100 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast to an end. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, or of course your favorite podcast app, hopefully for another 100 episodes. Please help us out. Submit a review. It helps other people find us.
Oh, that's me. Sorry again. Show notes are closed. You can get a look at us on. We start again. Too much scotch. We do record these shows live on YouTube and Facebook. If you want to get an early look at the show, find us on YouTube. Search for Canadian Prepper Podcast and click the notifications tab. That gives you an alert when we're going live. Facebook has a very similar thing. I forget what the rest of it says. So
how do we find you?
Yeah, you can find me, Alan. That's with one L at prepperpodcast.ca.
And I can be reached at hfxprepper@gmail.com or Hugues at prepperpodcast.ca. And I'm not even going to mention the YouTube channel thing because I don't feel like getting roasted by 9 people. So,
Tyler, any videos recently?
No. Tyler.
You got a nice new microphone there, so I'm sure you can.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
And if you got any questions or advice for me, you can email into the show at tyler@prepperpodcast.ca.
Wait, we gave you an email address?
I've had one for a while now. I haven't checked it in a while, to be honest.
I forwarded to my personal email, so I see them.
Oh, nice. I should do the same.
You can send me your hate mail, feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. That's the OG CPP. We do a thing Monday nights, 9 o'clock on YouTube or anywhere that fine podcasts are sold. Whenever I get around to publishing it, I'm behind again.
Fair enough.
Way to go, Andrew.
For our brand new panelists tonight, make sure you stick around for the post-show chat. But you can reach Ian directly by emailing me at thewesternretreat@gmail.com. You can also find me in Canadian Patriot Podcast with Andrew on iTunes and YouTube. There you can find us discussing why government waste and society in general makes me rant for about triple-digit episodes.
Yeah, we're coming up on 300.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so check out rapidsurvival.com. You can get me there on the live chat while buying some prepper gear. You can also email me at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. And before we do the final sign-off, just thanks to Phil, Jeff, Scott, and Jason for joining us this evening. It's a pleasure having you gentlemen on the panel for our 100th. And until next time, be prepared, stay safe.
And keep learning.